Let's bring people up to speed with what MAF is all about.
Yeah, look, math is a bit like that, actually. It's a bit romantic because it's got the aviation thing. Everybody loves a pilot, don't they?
Surely.
Everybody loves a pilot, I
Yeah.
reckon. It's easy to connect with pilots and recruit pilots and things like that. But hey, look, yeah, Mission Aviation Fellowship. Yeah, we continue the work that's been going on for 80 years. This year's the 80th anniversary of
Wow.
MAF around the world. Started by a Kiwi 80 years ago after the Second World War, and fly in, yeah, 26 countries, have 130 airplanes that work for the Lord in these different places. It's an amazing ministry.
And so, what is the need like for MAF in 2025? Because I think we like to believe the world is
Yeah.
a lot more connected than it used to be. And I suppose it sort of is. But what are the places that you guys are going to right now? What are the major needs you're looking to meet?
Yeah, look, that's a great question, Andrew. And we often ask that question, is there a need for MAF still in the world? Are there still isolated communities? Are there communities that are unreached for the gospel? And the answer, without any question, is yes, yes, yes. So we operate in countries, mainly developing countries, where the communities are isolated. They're separate from other people and they need to be connected through aviation. We don't fly where there are other aviation competitors, other operators. We only go where we've been invited to go by the church or the NGOs. So, yeah, look, we've had two new programs start in the last few years in West Africa, Liberia, and Guinea, which is fantastic. And we are continuing to grow and see the gospel reach. I mean, our reach is to go into isolated communities. I think that's the key. Currently, reached 2,500 isolated communities around the world at the moment, and we plan to double that in the next 20 years.
So, we could talk about the logistical side of things, flying things like medicine and supplies to these communities. But
Yeah,
the part I want to touch on with you now is the missional side of it. How does
yeah.
faith become a part of this? What sets you apart from any other NGOs or people with small planes who can do
Yeah.
a similar logistical role?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew, because we are a Christian missionary organization. That's what we are. That's what drives us. Even our founder, Murray Kendon, back when he was a teenager in his early 20s, he was an evangelist at heart and wanted to use aircraft instead of he was flying bombers in the war and wanted to use aircraft to take the gospel to remote communities. So that is our bread and butter, if you like. That's the reason we exist. And so we take missionaries and we help missionaries get to where they go
Mm.
to do Bible translation, for example, or medical Christian hospitals. I mean, in South Sudan and Africa, we're delivering Bibles to remote communities, that Bibles that have just been translated, and helping missionary families get in and out of the places where they serve. So, yeah, the gospel going to unreached peoples group or remote communities is a big part of what we do.
And of course, people might already have connected the dots that there's not a lot of money to be made in flying missionaries to these parts of the world. And so that's why MAF has always required support from people like you listening this morning. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. I want to know, though, Mark, are there some particular stories you can share with us about the impact that MAF has had on these communities?
Yeah, look, medical evacuation stories are easy to tell and wonderful. So even in a place like Timor-Leste, people people don't know where Timor is. It's on the right on the end of Indonesia, just above Darwin in North Australia. Right there, there was a lovely young 4-year-old girl, Geneva. She had just been bitten by a snake. She lived in a remote place a long way from the capital city of Dili, and there was no anti-venoms in the community where she was. And if she didn't get medical care urgently, so the only way that she could have got that medical care is traveling by road over many hours. And of course, by then her parents feared that she might have died. So the MAF aircraft was called, and I've been on medical evacuation flights in Timor-Leste myself, and the plane went in there, picked her up, and 20 minutes later, she was back at Dili getting that anti-venom serum that she needed, and so her life was saved. And, wonderful story. Even in Madagascar, there was a 17-year-old guy. He was very remote and was attacked, was robbed, and looked like he was going to die. Now, if he wanted to get to the capital city to hospital, it was a 5-day travel by
Wow.
4x4 vehicle. So the plane was called, and 50 minutes later, 50 minutes later, he was at the hospital. And yeah, his life was saved. So, I mean, they're just wonderful stories as to how the MAF plane plays that vital link in the chain in many of these countries, well, all the countries where we work.
It's the embodiment of the Good Samaritan, isn't it? You found a man on the side of the road and just so
That's
happened you
it.
used a plane instead of a donkey.
That's the one. Yeah, look, the plane's the tool. In the end, it's the tool to even taking the gospel to remote places. It's an aeroplane. We love aviation. We love aeroplanes, obviously, and we do that quite well. But it is really expensive, of course.
So let's talk about then how we continue to do this because we can hear about the impact already. One of the ways that people can support MAF is through Fuel for Father's Day. So what's this about, Mark?
Yeah, this is a really cool thing that we're doing this year. Starting this year, hope to do it in many years to come. But Father's Day, Fuel for Father's Day is, look, hey, I'm a dad. In fact, last week I became a granddad for the first time,
Oh,
so which is cool.
congratulations.
And yeah, thank you. And Father's Day is coming up, and kids are always asking their dad, hey, look, what can I buy you for Father's Day? And fathers traditionally say, "Oh, I don't need anything, or I don't know what to get. Just make me breakfast in bed or whatever." But hey, Fuel for Father's Day is an opportunity for families to give their dad a gift. So a jerry can of aviation fuel. Well, they don't do it literally. Give them a aviation fuel. They buy a jerry can of fuel, 10 liters or 20 liters. They gift that money through MAF that we use to buy fuel, and they give their dad a card that says, "Hey, Dad, we've bought you a gift, and it's going to save some lives this Father's Day." So, jerry can for Father's Day is exactly that. On Father's Day, buy your dad a jerry can of fuel, 10 liters, 20 liters.
And so how much are we looking at for 10 litres or 20 litres of aviation fuel?
Yeah, so $33, which is quite achievable for most people, will buy 10 liters of fuel. I mean, that's only a 5-minute flight in an aircraft. So, but hey, 10 liters can will help save a life, or $65 is 20 liters of jerry can, or you can buy multiples of them if you choose.
Yeah. And so Fuel for Father's Day is your way of maybe showing your dad that you want to do something special in his name and then also support Mission Aviation Fellowship in the process.
Absolutely. Yeah, what a wonderful way. And those listeners who have been connected with MAF for a while will know that at Christmas time we have often doing jerry cans of fuel. Well, we've moved that across to Father's Day. And yeah, we're actually running alongside that. If you're around Tauranga, at the Tauranga base, at a hangar at Tauranga Airport, we actually have an afternoon on the Saturday before Father's Day and doing all sorts of things in the hangar, lots of aeroplanes to look at, lots of rides and vintage fire engines and activities. We've got a band coming and all that sort of stuff. So that's happening on the Saturday afternoon before Father's Day.
Can I just come regardless? That sounds
Yeah,
like an amazing way to
absolutely.
spend my time. So this is all can be found on maf.org.nz if you want to look into any of this. But one more time, we're talking about Fuel for Father's Day here. You can get
We
yourself
are.
a can of fuel here and remind people again of what the donations are looking like there, Mark.
Yeah, so the donations, obviously you buy a jerry can of fuel, aviation fuel that fills the aircraft with fuel, and that's what the money will go towards. So 10 liters, $33, or 20 liters, $65. And go to the website. You can download a jerry can, a card that you can print and give to your dad, or we'll send you one if that's what you'd like.
Ah, amazing. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next video.
We'll see you in the next one.